is Crystal here at the King's Art Center, and today we're going to be going over basic drawing techniques. So materials you will need for this project or lesson is going to be something to draw on. It could be any kind of paper you choose, and any material to draw with. You can use a ballpoint pen, China marker, a crayon, and different kinds of graphite pencils. Okay, when you draw, use your whole arm, not just your wrist. It's bad for your wrist if you're only using your wrist to draw. This technique or this practice or exercise is good for using your arm. You want to do circular motions going around. You can do that a few times. It's good to warm up your arm and your wrist. The next exercise, you can draw a straight line and draw a wavy line kind of intersecting it. Now your goal is just to kind of meet that line in those same intersections. You could even go in opposite directions, but you're still meeting in that. You could also practice just going over the same line, or practice making straight lines, since making straight lines is difficult sometimes. You could practice making circles of a certain height. So you draw two straight lines and then you just draw the circles to be that height. So some of the basic shapes you should know how to draw just so you can draw anything should be your circle, triangles, and squares. Anything you draw can mostly be made up of those three shapes. Once you turn these shapes into 3D objects or forms is when you can start adding shading and values. So to make the circle a sphere, we just kind of start adding shading and shadows. If we turn this triangle into a cone, again, we start adding shading and shadows. Then our square becomes a cube. And we can also give it some shading. So when you're drawing, you also have to think about the value of objects, or just the value when you see light. And here's a simple value scale. So I like to start off as the darkest value, and now using a ballpoint pen, we can start off by cross-hatching. So this box represents our darkest value. It's the darkest value we can achieve with a ballpoint pen. To make lighter values, we were still doing cross-hatching. Cross-hatching, you mostly just want your marks to be going in the same direction, and you can cross them. And you just keep repeating this until you have the value that, so as you get lighter, you're leaving more space between your strokes. So everything everything we draw is made up of shapes, or it's easier to construct drawings or objects with shapes. In these examples, we have triangles here that are, or triangles that are the trees, squares, or even spheres. To make this fish, you would just need an oval, more triangles, more circles. This one could even be part of a square. So starting off, if we draw 3 objects, our first object being this bamboo and this little planter, I would start off with my oval for the planter, drawing my planter here. But when you're drawing from objects, you also have to be looking at the shape. So for my planter, it goes in on both sides. There's also going to be another oval for the bottom side of my planter. So when you guys are drawing, you guys can be using a pencil. If you guys are using a pen, pens you can't erase. But sometimes it's better if you learn to commit to your lines. So now drawing my bamboo, I'm drawing cylinders. So cylinders are still kind of using the circle, which we can turn into an oval and close off that end. Again, drawing cylinders. To draw the leaves, you can keep doing cylinders or kind of triangles, overlapping triangles. So you guys can try to draw the same object a few times. It doesn't always have to come out great on the first try. It's always good to practice drawing things over and over. So my next object is going to be this little spray bottle. And you guys can choose simple objects or you can go through more complex ones. For this object, we can start seeing that there's cylinders here, there's circles. This bottom part is mostly a circle, just kind of squished. But now you're seeing where objects are being attached to each other. The top of our spray bottle is a circle. So once you learn to break down your objects into different shapes, drawing becomes a lot easier. You also have to keep in mind proportions. You have to see where this circle ends on the cylinder, how tall your cylinders are. So I added more shading to this object. So if you guys notice, I try to keep my strokes kind of going in different directions to separate them. So if I were to do the same for this bamboo, I would be curving my lines to show that my bamboo is wrapping around or going around. It's a curved object. If I were to shade the pot behind the bamboo, I'd maybe use vertical lines just to show you that that object is behind, but it's also, it goes in. Drawing the top of the bamboo, you can kind of just add a texture. So sometimes you guys can draw the same object multiple times. It's good to practice, and sometimes it might not come out great the first time. You should never fall in love with your drawings. They're just a checkpoint to see how well you're doing. So it's good if you have to draw them even 10 times. It's more practice. So once you guys practice drawing your shapes enough, you guys should be able to really take anything from life and change it into something different. Or you could even draw things from your own imagination. So back to like one of my examples of the trees, if I want to draw a tree and I want to draw my tree using spheres, I can kind of play around where I place my spheres, how big they are, and then I can also start adding my branches to my spheres, or to my, I guess these would be like my leaves. So just to make this look more like a tree and not really just spheres, you can start adding kind of like these little curves. And then also adding some shading, tells like the light source is coming from this direction. When you guys are practicing, your shading doesn't have to be perfect. It's mostly, it could even be texture almost. And again, there's always room for improvements. If you're ever doing a drawing and you need help or you need somebody else to look at it, you can always ask people for critiques. But you should never take what they tell you personally and just kind of learn to grow from them. So make sure you guys use up your whole space or your area on your paper. You guys notice I didn't just draw one tiny circle here and leave the rest of my page blank. So always keep that in mind when you're drawing to use. I could probably keep adding more since I am just practicing on these pages. So if you guys do end up drawing 3 objects, you guys can tag us at the King's Art Center and we can post your work on our stories. If you guys have any questions or want to learn how to draw or paint anything, you guys can also send us a message. We are open to suggestions. And I hope you guys enjoyed our video. Thank you guys. Bye.